Hi guys, James Hall, family nurse practitioner, and I'm going to talk to you today about insulin. If you want to do well on keto and improve your metabolic health, you need to understand insulin. When you understand insulin and what it does and how all of this works, well, that answers a lot of common questions I get. All you need to do is understand insulin. It's at the center of almost every metabolic disorder, including diabetes, high blood pressure, polycystic ovarian disorder, hormone deficiencies, vitamin D, sometimes even your thyroid, and sex hormones like low T, estrogen, and fertility issues. So by understanding insulin and fixing insulin, you can correct many of the imbalances in your body. Improve your blood pressure, if not completely get rid of it. It helped me reverse my diabetes. It fixed my lipid problem. So you really want to understand insulin and what you can do to fix your insulin levels and keep it as low as possible. This picture gives you a good point of view on how abnormally high insulin, which results in insulin resistance, is at the heart of so many metabolic disorders. Elevated glucose causes damage to the blood vessels, leading to heart disease and stroke. Insulin resistance can cause starvation of the cells in your brain, leading to dementia and Alzheimer's. And this is sometimes referred to as type 3 diabetes. High glucose has been shown to increase chances of cancer, and very interestingly, many cancer cells cannot even use ketones as a fuel source, only sugar. Insulin causes calories to be stored as fat, which leads to obesity and fatty liver disease. Insulin also stops your body from converting its own cholesterol into the hormones you need, such as testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone, even vitamin D. And this can cause infertility, early male pattern balding, and erectile dysfunction. Insulin causes the kidneys to retain sodium and fluid, which can raise your blood pressure and cause edema of the lower extremities. And insulin is the earliest predictor of diabetes, years before a glucose or A1C will show. So elevated insulin can also cause inflammation in the joints, so lowering it can help with your chronic joint pain. I really love this picture. This picture is a really good visual on what insulin does to your body. On the left, you see a person with type 1 diabetes, and on the right, you see someone with type 2 diabetes. Traditional medicine will look at both of them and say they have the same problem, too much sugar. Well, sugar is a problem for both of them, but it's the result of the real problem, not the actual problem. The problem is insulin. Type 1s have too little, 0 to no insulin, and type 2s are insulin resistant, so they make way too much insulin. The result in body type is obvious. Without insulin, you burn fat and cannot store it, and typically very thin. Too much insulin, and you are constantly storing fat, unable to ever use it or get rid of it. So a lot of the medications that cause your pancreas to secrete more insulin or injecting more insulin will eventually cause a type 2 diabetic to gain more weight and become sicker, making the problem worse. By eliminating the things that make you produce insulin, like sugar and carbohydrates, your body can then become insulin sensitive again, and the insulin level will eventually go down, and type 2 diabetes can improve and in most cases can actually reverse itself, like for me. In one study, over 90% of diabetics that went on a ketogenic diet came off of insulin and reduced or came off of their oral meds. The small percentage that did not come off the insulin, they were able to cut their dose in half, decreasing how much insulin they had to take, and lowering insulin's always a good thing. The problem is that no one is really testing fasting insulin levels to screen for diabetes or even consider it in treating their diabetics. There are over 80 meds to lower sugar for diabetics, but none of them fix the problem, which is elevated insulin. Lowering sugar does not fix this. You have to fix insulin. If you fix it, then sugar will normalize on its own in most cases. Type 1 diabetics will always need some insulin, but a ketogenic diet is still useful for them. Their insulin doses are typically based on the number of carbs they eat. Reduce the carbs, reduce the insulin. Reduce the insulin, less heart disease or other metabolic problems. So when you see your healthcare provider, ask for a fasting lipid and a fasting insulin. And if you're a type 2 diabetic, you might want to ask for a fasting C-peptide too, because this will tell you if you have late onset type 1 diabetes. And in those cases, you'll actually need insulin. And I'd like to just finish up with this picture, which I know I've shared to death, but this one is such an important one to really understand how you can lower your insulin levels and keep your sugar levels low and lose weight. Carbohydrates, you see it spikes sugar, and that fine dotted line you see there, that's what it does to insulin. So you see it spikes sugar, spikes insulin, and that drops down rapidly, making you feel hungry and tired, and then you eat again, and it goes up and down, and that's why you continually gain weight and develop diabetes eventually. Protein raises sugar about half, so you can overdo protein, and you see it also spikes insulin, so you want to keep protein at a normal level. You don't want to just do pure protein because you're going to run your sugar up with protein too. But you notice as you move to the right, you see that protein gives you a little bit more appetite suppression and satisfaction, almost twice as long as carbohydrates. And then down there, fat in blue has an extremely long suppression of appetite, and you notice there is no dotted line. It does not produce an insulin response, and it barely raises sugar, if at all. So a high-fat, low-carb diet will keep insulin low and reverse most metabolic disorders. So remember this when you're thinking about what you want to eat. You all have a wonderful day.